the former Soviet bloc in Poland, Czechoslovakia, and also here in Hungary. And so it became a tradition to open the homes, the kitchens, the ateliers for the free culture. So let's say the tradition in Hungary continued, and later on in the late 70s, Peter Halas and opened his home for a theater, the Spot Theater, which then moved to first to the Netherlands and then to New York. And there was a wonderful initiation of the illegal Monday Free University, initiated by Miklós and Pál Szalai in '78. And many discussions were inside small private places. And then the tradition continued in the late 80s, and in 80 December, my husband opened the illegal bookstore in his apartment in Galamb utca, in the 5th district on the 3rd floor. It was a 14 square meter big, maybe a small apartment. And every Tuesday people could meet there and buy illegally printed samizdat books. So that tradition came into my mind when my husband passed away, and then just right after his death, the COVID came, so I was truly closed into this house and had the idea. By the way, András Török also had an idea to open it for artists, so somehow I just combined the tradition and András' tradition and my thoughts. And in 2021, September, we opened the gallery. So regularly we have exhibitions, art exhibitions here, which are related to my husband's works, and I opened the door for the free culture. So you are very warmly welcome, and I'm really happy that we met, that you made the interview, which is in the book, about the place, and it's really nice that I have so many guests tonight. Enjoy it and read the book, and love Budapest, please. Thank you so much.
So I will also say a few words to open the evening, and actually there is a few more seats here. Please, if anyone wants to come closer, please do. Can you hear me now? Yes. From the back. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. We're really thrilled to see so many guests here tonight who chose to spend the evening with us to celebrate our new book, Narratives of Budapest, which is a huge milestone for our association and for our team, and probably for the authors involved as well. So this is a non-fiction collection of personal stories, essays, interviews, and articles all about Budapest and its remarkable inhabitants. And I see authors and contributors of the book here tonight, and I'm really thankful to you guys, because obviously without you this day would never have happened. And later tonight we'll get to know you a bit better, and you will be able to speak out if you feel like it. But right now, let me introduce a core team of the book, the editorial team. Paige, would you mind coming here as well? So these are the people who were in charge of the whole process, who worked with the authors, who developed the stories, who nurtured the pieces, who made the design of the book. So these are our editors, Peter, Paige, Kat, who lives in Canada, but she's probably watching us via live stream, if we are live streaming. This is Laila, our developmental editor. Of course, Rachel, the senior editor of the book, and Maria, our director of our panel literature association and the design of the book. And myself, I'm a, project manager, publisher, and a writer too. And of course, I want to thank Judit for having us tonight. It's a very special occasion for us, and I'm super happy that we are here in this remarkable place of Budapest. Now, would you like to say a few words, guys? So first and foremost, I would like to thank Masha. Who was the visionary of this book. It's her tenacity that made it even happen. None of us would be here without you, and I'm in awe of everything that she has done. So thank you very much for that. And I'd just like to say that I ended up here by accident, not this room, in Budapest. And it's not an easy place to live if you don't speak Hungarian. And I think some Hungarians might agree that even if you do speak Hungarian, it's still not that easy a place to live. But I think we all know enough not to conflate easy with worthwhile. So living here and discovering the city as a writer and as an editor, but also just as a human being, has deepened my appreciation for nuance and for beauty that can be achieved even in the midst of loss and pain and confusion, or even because of the loss and pain and confusion. And editing this book has really opened my eyes to just how much had to happen, the confluence of events that led to all that we know as Budapest, all the culture and art and everything that is achieved has been achieved and is going to be achieved, and I'm really excited for it, and I'm really excited to share this book with all of you.
Yes, I'd echo that. I just wanted to add that I met Masha last year as part of a writer's workshop, and many of the writers that are featured in this book were there with me. It's very exciting to see this work published. I think I know Budapest well. I've been here, lived here 5 or 6 times since 1991. I read a lot about it. András Török, I've read your book cover to cover, the English one. And my wife is from Budapest. I feel like I know it, but still reading the pieces that I did inspired me to go see it again. And some of the places referenced here were places that I wasn't familiar with. So I hope you will take it away. This is the first time I'm seeing it tonight, the complete work, and I've seen many people flipping through it. I'm doing the same thing. I'm eager to start reading it as soon as I get home this evening. So congratulations to the writers, really excellent work. What I've seen so far, I'm excited to see what else is in there. And again, congratulations, Masha, for producing the book. It's really, really fantastic to have this as part of the work about Budapest here. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Gyarmati, and we are working with Masha and Panel Association already for quite a long time. So we produced some magazines, and I was working on them as well. But it's really a pleasure to have a feeling that it's kind of growing. And now this book, the cover of the book, it has like it's following the traditions of suprematism, and also it's having this playful but structured simplicity and geometry that follows like Bauhaus movement. So the idea was to design something that is not just presenting all this net in which we live in Budapest, like it combines together like art and text that take into the volume of our living here, but also it can be some kind of modern art asset in your bookstore. So yeah, I think we kind of managed. Thank you, and hope you will like the book. Thank you much.
I would just like to add, thank you guys for your hard work. Thank you for that we shared this journey together, and it has been an amazing journey. And I would like to add that since the day one when we started reaching out to possible interviewees and contributors until this day, today, I've personally learned so much about Budapest, and now I can firmly state that Budapest is a unique city with unique citizens and with amazing projects that have been here for a long time, sometimes for the decades. But funnily enough, not only us, like, you know, expats or immigrants or foreigners, people who chose Budapest as their second home, not only us, but also Budapesters who have been living here, maybe at some cases for their whole life. They don't know about these projects. I have this judgment based on my just, you know, common conversations with regular people. So I hope that in this case, in this sense, our book will draw the city and its citizens closer together. Also, well, we tried hard to include as many stories as we could only find. But I also have to admit that I think we haven't covered even a half of what Budapest has to offer. And it makes me think that we'll see how it goes, but probably in the future we might come with the second volume. And also, it's my personal opinion, but I think that it's quite a unique book, because honestly, I haven't seen any English language book of this kind, meaning interviews, essays, and such about Budapest. So, and we tried hard, and I hope that you'll find it as much informative as enjoyable. So, I could speak much longer about narratives of Budapest because it has been on my mind for a year, I think, but I won't do that. Instead, I would rather pass the mic to people who know Budapest and feel Budapest and understand the city much better than I would ever do. And I suggest we switch to the next part of our event, panel discussion about the city and its memories. And I would like to invite Jennifer Walker here, who is a writer, journalist, founding editor of Panel magazine, a contributor of this book. And Jennifer will tell you more about the panel discussion. I'll just
Yes, we need to free up some spaces for our... Oopsie. Yes, good to have you. So if I could get my fellow panelists to join. I don't know where Balázs is. Okay.
Balázs! Where is Balázs? Balázs!
And I will just give a quick introduction because these are kind of the four rock stars of people who come from Budapest, in my personal opinion. But some of you may not be aware of them. So to my left, I have Fortepan András Török, who is a writer and lecturer, cultural manager, and local historian.
Tell them the other way is to hold the microphone as close as possible.
Okay.
Keep
Keep your microphone as close as possible.
Okay. I can also be louder. That's also very possible. Okay. Which has been released. That'd be nice right now in this heat. Which has been released in several editions and numerous publications in Hungarian, English, German, and French. He's also the manager of the Fortepan András Török. To my right, I have Vincent Baumgartner, a photographer, city explorer, and the author of the Building Tells Tales project. You should definitely look this up on Instagram and Facebook. It's a fantastic account, which is dedicated to old buildings of Budapest and their stories. Next to Vincent, we have Miklós, a cultural journalist, photographer, city expert, traveller, and author of Ismeretlen Budapest project at 24.1 website. If you read Hungarian, I do highly recommend reading it if you're interested in architecture and architectural preservation. It's a really interesting page. And then last but not least, we have Balázs Gáspár, creator of Dust and Mud 4-ish booklets, which are also very Well, if you read Hungarian, also excellent. He also does, he's also a tour guide as well, who hosts anti-sightseeing tours. So if you want to get a different perspective of Budapest, you can sign up to that. So how we're going to do this tonight is we're going to discuss the topic of why memories of a city matter. And I would like to open with you, András, actually. And because I'm actually, like, especially with your project, the Fortepan, I think it does a great job collecting visual memories of Budapest daily life. So what do you think is the most interesting and moving stories? So maybe you can elaborate a bit about Fortepan, because I think you can do this better than me. But what is the most interesting moving stories you've seen over the years working with?
I have a 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day version. Which do you want?
5-minute version?
Oh. I'm just the right hand of Mr. Fortepan. It's not my project. I'm helping a fantastic guy who should be here. He's called Miklós, and he fell in love with negatives, discarded negatives in Budapest streets 25 years ago when he was a secondary school student. So he quickly picked up negatives.
Sorry, it's really hard to hear back here.
Because they are talking.
Yeah, shut up, guys! Who's in the back? Be quiet! That's not my impression.
It's too distracting.
I can talk slowly and louder. So, Miklós Tamási, well, he started to collect negatives discarded in the streets because the fire brigade wanted people to throw away what they don't need to lessen fire hazards. I think it started in 1967, this project. And then he printed them and realized he fell in love with the past. And in 2010, he put 5,000 photos on the website, saying that it's a nostalgia project. I don't know what's in the photos, and I don't care. Just use it for anything, download it in large resolution, and put it on your walls, do whatever you want. And this became a huge success. It was 14 years ago. Then in a year it became searchable. And we have over 9,000 tags now, and 197,000 old photos. This is the youngest was taken on December the 1st, 1990. So don't look for younger photos of that. And we have some very early from the 1850s. And this is done by one paid person, that is Mr. Fortepan. And all the others, about 10 people, are just volunteers. And we do something every day. And about 80 people, the problem solvers, or who try to find out what's in the photos. And they have cutthroat debates. And they say that, of course, it's Bishop Laila, everybody understands that. But look where the sun shines from. It's obviously not Kossuth, so it can only be Petőfi. So that kind of thing. And we are offered photos. Physically it doesn't exist. It's free to use even for business purposes. So the other day I was called that a honey company wants to create a new brand of honey. It's the good old day honey. And they wanted to use a photo, and that's how much they owe. It's free. And then I should write a letter to the street. No, I'm not writing a letter to the street. So that's how, and it's in the market. It's a great success. Régi szép idők. Oh, that's amazing. This is amazing. So it's great. Educational tool for teachers, for books, for anything. And this is one of the most beautiful projects I have ever seen and use it. And also financially, it's quite stable. I'm a fundraiser, and half of it is now funded by public. It's totally new. It's about 25 million forints a year, and also contribute. Give us pictures, give us photos. It's never enough.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to my questions. I felt like we needed to understand what Fortepan is, because not everybody, unfortunately, knows about it, but you do now. But what would you say is the most interesting moving story that you've seen in your experience with Fortepan? Was there a photo that stood out to you that really told a story?
there are many, but I just say one. In 2018, Miklós was asked to give an interview for Nőklapja, the weekly with the biggest circulation. It's in Hungarian, so I don't think many subscribers are sitting here. And he gave an interview and used to illustrate a wonderful photo that was taken in 1952 during the hardest of dictatorship, the darkest year of Hungarian history. And that was a nice scene in the Buda Hills that a family is enjoying life. A mother and a father and a mother and the sister of the mother and her little girl, 5 years old maybe. And they are just, it was a makeshift football goal. And they were just hanging on the top of it. Then they were smiling. 2 days later, Miklós Tamási got a phone call that a lady in her late 70s, really moved, that she was the girl. And she didn't know about the photo. Mother died, father died, auntie died. She's a survivor and she was so happy. So a year later, when we organized a huge exhibition in the National Gallery, this was the poster. And the lady was, of course, at the opening, and there is this fantastic interview with the old lady. It's on YouTube. But wait a couple of days, because there are terrible commercials cutting all YouTube without paid propaganda that if you want to peace, who should you go for? So wait a couple of days. Or subscribe for premium version.
Thank you, András. Vincent, I think the photography thing ties in very well with your project. So you're a photographer who chronicles the stories of Budapest buildings, and mostly residential buildings, courtyards, and places that are hidden in plain sight, but unless you go through the doors, you don't know them. Could you elaborate on how buildings tell the stories of Budapest's past?
Budapest, I was born in Switzerland, and when I first came to live in Budapest in 2009, one thing which really struck me was how history and the past is tangible, more tangible than in Switzerland. So here, when you walk, you can really feel the past. You can see things which are linked with Hungary, with the past of Hungary, for example, bullet holes, old signs, graffitis, which in Switzerland are not visible anymore, or not that obvious. They are more hidden in museums. And since I'm someone who really likes history, local history, that's something I really enjoyed. And when I was walking on the street, I was always looking at all these small things which were making history alive. And then I realized that inside buildings there is even more history, because the interior of so many buildings did not change in the past 70, 100 years. You can really see the details. I don't believe in ghosts, but I think that the small things which were left by the inhabitants of the buildings, the way they touched, thousands of people touched the handrails in the staircase, or the small graffiti, the small things they left, they wrote on the walls with charcoals, and all these small things somehow make me feel the presence of the people who used to live there. And yes, somehow the buildings, the walls of Budapest are really a very tangible link with the past.
Yeah, definitely agree. Actually, talking about architecture, I think Niklaus is the perfect person to move on to, because the Niklaus chronicles a lot about and writes a lot about the unknown parts of Budapest, but mostly buildings that are either demolished or damaged or disappearing. So why do you think stories of these buildings and their memories can teach us, and why do you feel it's so important to preserve them and their memories?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's hard to do these pictorial articles because we all know that old walls just cover some stories, some tear-jerking stories, or some happy stories as well. And I like to introduce these stories to the great public, and I think that I will do this till the end of my life, because that's the way I can tell new stories to people. There are some archives here in Hungary. We have the Fortepan for pictures. We can find really good pictures about those now abandoned or now demolished or almost demolished buildings, residential buildings. And we can use Arcanum, which is an online newspaper archive with 60 million pages, I think. And these two main sources can tell us everything about the building. There are some amazing but forgotten ones in the Buda Hills and also in the outer districts of Pest. Most of them were built by great architects from the top of the A-list on the turn of the century, and even the architecture historians doesn't know the architect behind these structures, and it's quite sad because we don't have enough books, monographies about these great architects, and I like to tell these never told stories. Well, I'm a bit happy because most of these structures will be damaged, but a few of them can survive. I think mostly because of my picture articles or the flames which will follow these articles, and well, there were quite a few hard crashes between the developers and our newspaper. Some of these people wanted to make us delete these writings because he or she can't sell these new apartments, and well, I've been on court many times in the past few years, so yeah, that's rough.
Fighting a good fight.
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why I love Miklós's writings, because he's a silent heritage crusader. So his writings are he's just eating up the roots of ugly capitalism and greed.
I've been beaten once.
Sorry?
I've been beaten once.
Really? I've never heard about it. That's lucky. Budapest is a wonderful place, because in other countries, east of Budapest, in Moscow, in Belarus, you could be in jail, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. In jail? No, in a cemetery.
Yeah. You should keep up your energy, and he's a silent crusader. He's a stone-faced crusader. He never says that, hey people, rise up and stop that. But then all these pieces he publishes, and he's a great workaholic. I don't know when he sleeps. So he publishes really long, small-size articles twice a week, 3 times a week, or very often, right?
15 hours a week.
Okay. So thanks for your lovely work.
Thank you.
Yeah, likewise. Okay, let's move on to Balázs, continuing the... actually, do you know what? Maybe take this one. Maybe this one's closer. Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, so Balázs, you write your Polish booklets. They take a different view of some of Budapest's most famous landmarks. So now we're going from the more obscure, disappearing buildings to the ones that everyone knows about. And you highlight, what's very interesting is you highlight the criticism that they received from their contemporaries at the time since finding these. Do you feel your opinion of the city's most famous landmarks have been coloured by them? Have they changed your perception? So for example, was there a building which you saw the first time you moved to Budapest that you thought, oh, that's beautiful, but then you read someone's take on it and then that completely changed your perspective?
Yeah, definitely. This project is about bad reviews, which was written back in time about these buildings, and I was working with this booklet for for I think for more than a year, looking into the archives for this quote, and I think I already did like this anti-sightseeing tour in Hungarian and in English for 30 times maybe. I'm not bored with it yet, but I taught these quotes so many times so that I'm definitely affected by it, and actually also my guests affected by it, which is great. And many times they agree, for example, about the basilica, its unfortunate proportions, and maybe also the parliament, which was probably the most criticized one. So, but at the end of the tour, I always tell them that I hope you still like Budapest and you think it's beautiful, but you can have a different perspective, and yeah, definitely affected by that. But actually, already one of my motivation was that once I went to the parliament in a tour, and the lady was telling us to everything, it's so beautiful, this is so beautiful, this is wonderful, but I didn't feel like that.
So you agreed with the critics when you finally read them?
Sorry?
So you agreed with the critics when you finally read them?
A few of them, yes.
Cool. Okay, so András, let's go back to you. Okay, let's talk about the city losing its character. So in the book, there's an interview with you, and you mentioned that the problem is that Budapest is losing its character. Soon it's going to be like any other European city, and in some 10 years it might be hard to distinguish Budapest from Vienna or from some other city. How do you feel forgetting memories of the city plays into the homogenization of the city, or what gives the city its character, and why we're losing this?
Well, partly because Budapest is a city that never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity. Actually, I stole this wonderful citation from Abba Eban, the Israeli friend, who said that when a famous Palestinian leader died, Arafat died, and he said that Arafat, he was an interesting man, he never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. But it works for Budapest too, and I think that we let our last major large industrial building complexes vacated and used for meaningless things. Recently, I think Miklós also wrote about the Budapest slaughterhouse. That could have been a wonderful new place for partygoers and move. Yeah, sorry. You want to say something?
It could have been a nice art place like an X Factory in Lisbon, or a cultural space like Matadero in Madrid. So we've had some
or even
options.
A center for Romkochmas, I think.
Or photography museum.
Or a photography museum.
Or
anything like that. So characteristic, not first-class landmark buildings are disappearing by the dozen or by the 100 altogether, and also not so interesting modern state-of-the-art buildings are built, and without the city has no money to invest. The city doesn't have money to lose on renovation of landmark buildings. And for example, I think Budapest is the only major European city who is shy to spend on its own city hall. So we have this nondescript city hall, which was an old soldier's home on a how would you say in English? Yes, a city hall, a building on a cursed venue. Yeah. And I'm not sure you noticed that, but around the top of the city hall there is anti-falling debris mechanism. It's a permanent structure out of metal, but there is pieces of plank or wood inside, and the wood was replaced a couple of times in the last 2 decades. And the mayor, who is I like in general, but he was stupid enough to let himself stuck in the position when the opposition said that he wants to sell the city hall to investors. And the only good answer was that, of course, we want to sell it, but there is no fool who wants to buy that because it's unfit for any modern purpose. So we have no proper city hall, and I think the stock exchange building would be a wonderful place for a city hall. So I think I want to go to the gym more often because I want to live long, even longer, though I'm old, to see if we will have a good city hall. But I want to let younger people talk.
Okay, I actually want to touch more on the kind of human memory thing that you mentioned before, and actually in one of your posts you mentioned you had a bittersweet relationship with Longpelagny. So I think everyone here knows what Longpelagny is. If anyone who doesn't know what it is, okay, everyone who lives in Budapest.
Clear and clear.
Yeah, so basically when the junk gets thrown out on the street. Not junk, other people consider it junk, other people consider it treasures. And then you found it's a place where you can witness how people care so little about preserving the past. And most tragic for you is one of the posts was a plaque with these names of all the inhabitants on it that was left in the street. Do you feel that people are too quick to forget about the past, and why do you think that's a tragedy?
Well, it's difficult because it really depends. I've been in houses where the inhabitants were really aware about the past, but it's maybe a matter of education, also lack of sense of identity, lack of bond with the place now that many people move very quickly, don't stay for a long time in a house. And yes, the post you mentioned, it was maybe 1 or 2 months ago in Józsefváros on St. Pius, and some old houses have beautiful plaques with the names of all the inhabitants. And the plaque of one of those houses was on the street. One of the Longpelagny, it was one of the guy who then just gather the things on the street and then brings them to the flea market, reserved it. I was thinking about buying it, maybe giving it back to the house. At the end, I did not. But Miklós found out that it was actually, that it is listed on Marketplace. So yes, somehow many of those small details disappear. And it's a pity because it's a beautiful object, but when it was in the house, it had a meaning, and outside of the house, it's losing that meaning. And also, so often the doors are replaced by modern doors. All those small details which are part of the identity of the house disappear. And Niklaus has a wonderful Facebook group, Eltűnő Budapest, where they are sharing many of those small details, small things which are disappearing. I don't know, maybe something to
You actually read my mind because my next question was going to be relating to Miklós' Facebook group.
Can I connect this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a matter of education that we couldn't tell that the thing is valuable or not. But the second largest problem is that we don't give a shit. If we can see something old at our houses and we say, well, I don't need this anymore, we are just throwing it to the bin and we're not caring anymore. If people could know that these things are valuable, all of these could be on Facebook Marketplace or any auction pages, eBay, whatever, anything, and we could buy it for our fine collections, but yeah, we don't.
So actually, I do have a question about your group, but it relates to the group, this Budapest Facebook group. And I actually see a lot of people are quite active there about interested in preserving things. And so how do you think the community can be more involved in preserving and sharing memories of Budapest or protecting these places?
In this group, which is a full with known Hungarian architects, preservationists, and very fine people, young urban explorers too. So we are trying to collect everything which can be forgotten, and we are trying to catch every single clearance days, like Vincent does. We're trying to open a space in Budapest, somewhere in downtown, where we can do exhibitions, because we have thousands of smaller or bigger things like cast iron elevator doors. We have some wooden doors from the turn of the century. We have more than 5 or 6 of these things that you told us before. These lists with the old inhabitants' names. So we are trying to collect everything, and since there are some well-known architects, we are trying to push the authorities to stop some of these demolitions, but Hungary is not a good place anymore. Sorry. There were some changes shortly before the COVID in 2020. Most of our options have been shut down by the government. So if the government says that we will demolish this place, then they will demolish it. If the owner says, I want to build 45,000 new homes on this small place, then you can do it. So,
yeah, if that get turned into a hotel, that seems to be the fate of the buildings in this city.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Airbnb.
Yeah. So Balázs, going back to your part in the book. So your quote is saying, without people, the city is only dust and mud. How would you say the people of Budapest, their stories and memories have made the city what it is?
Well, I was just thinking that it's a very Hungarian conversation here, only complaining and telling bad things about the city. On a book launch about the wonderful city. Well, what was the question?
It's all of us on memory. So without people, the city is only dust and mud. How would you say the people of Budapest, their stories and memories have made the city what it is?
Well, I think it's basically the city itself is one of the greatest human invention, and the city itself as a phenomenon is a very interesting thing, and I basically really like to live in a big city, if we can say that Budapest is big.
It's bigger than some. Ljubljana is a tiny capital, for example.
And yeah, I think from all the writing and from photos we can relate. And for example, I also participate in the project Budapest 100, which probably you know that on the weekend they open the houses and they can get to know the story of not only the architecture but also the people and meet with locals.
Okay. Masha's giving me the signal we have 5 minutes left, so I want to just do a final quick fire close up. So 1 minute each, so about why do you think the memories of a city matter? And I'd be very interested in your perspective. So let's start with András.
Let's make it interesting and teaches young people that the world hasn't started with them. But I also like to ask Niklaus, when is his book is going to come out?
I would be very interested in that too.
When is your book coming out?
Next week, maybe.
Next week?
No, I was just joking. Maybe next year. Maybe
Sorry?
next year.
Wait?
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year.
2 of my books.
2 of your books?
Yes.
Okay, and your collected stories, collected writings was cancelled?
Yes. Unfortunately, all the articles are owned by our media group and not me, so I don't have the rights to publish those collected stories.
I see. Okay, so to teach young people, that's right. It's the stories that.
It matters because it also helps to feel more at home and to be a community. And if you love the place where you live, you will also have the will to fight to make it better. I guess. I hope at least.
Hungarian people love all things that are old. That's why most Hungarians are into the things which are rebuilt in the Budapest Castle district. So I'm not into those. So because most of us love old things, we must tell these old stories, we must share these information about old buildings, because these can live longer than any of us, and we are not anything about our past, excluding the known things like, oh, this city is 150 years old. Yeah, but this city is much more than this. And we have some palaces, but this city is much more than those big palaces on András Avenue or the small villas in Zugló, and that's what we must do. András, Vincent, even Balázs with the dust and good stories. I've found a good one which I want to read aloud. The monument between the Andrássy and the Városliget Lake, which wants to tell us about the past of Hungary, will be clueless and ugly monster. It's the millennium monument. So we always love complaining, and we love to tell stories too, and I think that we must have more stories than complaints.
Okay, briefly, memories are important because it changes how you see the world.
I've just came to my mind. I was
Oops, sorry.
either under the shower or last minute. So I think memories are important because that can make Budapest the hottest cool spot in Europe.
Thank you so much for a fascinating discussion, and thank you to everyone. What an amazing turn-up we've had tonight. So, yeah, so thank you, András, Vincent, Miklós, and Balázs, and thank you all. And I guess next we have readers who are coming. Okay.
I'll pass it over to Rachel.
Backgrounds, occupations, lifestyles. There are artists, historians, cultural managers, translators, and of course, writers. 3 of those brilliant writers who are based here in Budapest, they wrote beautiful, funny, contradictory essays for this edition, reflecting on various parts of living in Budapest. We have the opportunity to hear from them tonight, so I would like to start off by introducing Anna. Anna Denysenko is an aspiring writer from Ukraine. For the past 3 years, she has been living and studying in Budapest. As a Ukrainian and an immigrant, Anna feels that the search for home is one of the most important themes in her writing. So, Anna, here, yes.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Rachel, for the introduction. I was told that I have some time to just briefly make an introductory word. And I just wanted to say that I am not lying when I say that I only started living when I moved here. I don't really remember a lot from my life before I came to Budapest because everything I know about life happened to me here. And the topic I wrote an essay about to contribute to this book was independent cinemas of Budapest. And it was a brilliant idea from Masha because I love cinema. I'm not an expert in cinema. I'm just a regular viewer that goes to the cinema every now and then. And it was a very interesting experience for me to kind of go there and observe people, not because I love observing people, but because this was actually my job and I had to write about it afterwards. And I'm gonna read a part about Circo Gézir Mozi, which is the third and the last cinema that I went to back in October. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Circo Gézir Cinema is hidden in the basement near Parliament. I have walked this street. It is located on multiple times, but never noticed it until now. Some things are meant for you to find them when the right time comes, I think to myself. Circo Gézir has a different story to other independent cinemas of the city. It was opened relatively recently in 1994. The name Circo Gézir is a combination of two words that reflect the dynamic and lively nature of the space. Its founders wanted to give a louder voice to minorities and marginalized groups and engage them in the artistic life of the city. Circo Gézir became the first cinema in the country to draw attention to topics such as Romani Holocaust and the HIV epidemic. To this day, the cinema remains a safe space to talk about things that usually don't make it to the foreground of public Hungarian debates. I come to Circo Gézir and I find it entirely empty. A man with a long ginger beard scans my ticket and tells me which way to go. There is no assigned seating, so I sit right in the middle of the room. I look around and realize that I'm alone. There is no one else coming and the movie is about to start. Today, the only film that has English subtitles is Own Forest, a portrait of Hungarian novelist and playwright Peter Nádás that was filmed in his own forest at his home. I have no clue who he is. Then I slowly begin to find out. Own Forest is a nature documentary and a literary portrait at the same time. In the movie, Nádás talks about different aspects of life, both his own and everyone else's at large. His profound words are complemented by images of landscapes as well as of his own home. Everything I gave away in life, I loved, he says. I probably did too. There are so many things in life I haven't loved yet, though. Some of them I have overloved, some I didn't love enough. Now, Peter Nádás is looking at me from a big movie screen and talking directly to my face because no one else is around and the whole world is left behind the closed doors. The writer himself appears on the screen only at the very end. Throughout the whole movie, it's just his voice and the world through his eyes. There is no other place to watch this movie. Circo Gézir is special. Somehow, stories feel more acute here. Every word is sharp like the edge of the paper. It cuts you, and you either squeak from the pain or don't feel anything at all. After a while, you notice bloodstains and wonder where they came from. Own Forest is a short documentary, but it captures Nádás's long life and offers a glimpse into the writer's head. To my surprise, it is not at all messy. It is beautiful. Circo Gézir is a quick experience. You chug it, and it leaves you with an aftertaste. Places where independent art resides can do that. It leaves me wondering how the cinema might look on a crowded premiere day. This is why I am planning to come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Next up is Duncan. Duncan Robertson is a writer from Seattle, Washington, and an editor-at-large for the panel. He lives here in Budapest with his family. Work, also here to see the cute tower. His work too, where he writes and he owns a beer bar. His most recent novel, Visegrad, is available from New Europe Books.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to be really loud. Is that okay? Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me? Great. All right. Yeah, my name is Duncan Robertson. I've been in Budapest for 10 years. I own a beer bar downtown I opened this year. We sell the best beer in the city. It's called Beer People. And I had a novel published 2 years ago in America, which is called Visegrad Novel. It's a book about a country where everybody pretends to work but does nothing. My contribution to this collection rounds out the book. It's the very last entry. And it is titled, "The Top 5 Intersections in Budapest at which to crouch like an animal and drink from a half-liter of Kobani." Okay, small author's note. This article was written in 2020 for a website, Painter's Palace. COVID pandemic happened, so there's a couple notes about things that have changed. I missed the Painter's Palace, so on and so forth. Here's one of the nice things about drinking on a street corner. There's more interesting stuff to look at than in a bar. Here's another. It democratizes space. In its way, drinking in public takes back our neighborhoods from the real estate goblins that play an ever-increasing role in the lives of our cities. By extension, it sets itself in opposition to a worldview wherein everything can be weighed and counted. To promote that opposition, here is a list of the top 5 places to sit leaned over, balancing your weight across the fulcrum of your kneecaps, a fuming cigarette in one hand, a half-liter of Kobani in another. Why Kobani? The shape of the bottle, of course, which is of the North Rhine-Westphalia variety. Okay, number 5. The south entrance of the pedestrian underpass at Gyarmati, which is Paige Zelinsky Avenue, Yokai Street, Terrace Avenue, Kadar Street, Váci Avenue, St. István Avenue, and Stola Vela Street. First Berlin Square, then Mark Square, now Gyarmati Western Square, has a wasp nest in the cockpit of a jetliner crashed into a cathedral field. It sits at the intersection of the Grand Boulevard, a metro line, an Art Nouveau train station, a pedestrian underpass, and the downward trajectory of the Hungarian publishing industry. The elite Brett and Alexander shoot nervous glances at each other across an elevated bypass. Author's note, by the end of 2020, the Alexander was gone, replaced with something called Atrium Fashion City, which advertises itself for the rental of short-range electronic cars that never appear to move. A flight path streams overhead, and the largest daily capacity train line in Europe, Anedya Shishatosh, rumbles along the north-south arterial. It is an ecosystem of its own, a pumping organ in the city's transportation apparatus. It stretches all the way to West End Mall in a system of long, ugly tunnels. And on a cool day, you can take those tunnels to Lahel Market's north end and surface only twice on either side of the parish church of St. Margaret. The southern entrance to this city, or to this system, houses bars, sex shops, 24 hours, restaurants, bookstores, bakeries, phone repair outlets, etc. And this doesn't include the enormous shopping complex with its rooftop garden and Hilton Hotel. It has a power all its own. That power is manifested in the chaos it attracts. No matter what attempts are made to clean it up through aggressive policing or because a movie is being shot there, it will always be dotted with people looking for action. Accordingly, the best perches from which to observe it, its ceaseless churn are in high demand, and these removes are littered with cigarette butts and food wrappers and human feces. Across the street is the most beautiful McDonald's in the world. The only intersection in the city more chaotic is Blaha Luisa, which didn't make this list because it's dangerous, ugly, and a pain in the ass. Author author's note, Blaha Louisiana was renovated in 21-22. It is less dangerous, but somehow an even worse place to drink, which was the desired effect of the renovation. At the very least, Bugatti lets us watch a lot of problems being solved very poorly, though not always from a distance. Number 4, the reflecting pool at Diak Ferenc Square, Karai Avenue, Vache Zelinsky Avenue, Kirai Street, Diak Ferenc, and Hamadsat Street. Diak Ferenc lies at the intersection of 5 streets, 3 subway lines, the airport shuttle, the inner boulevard, which includes its number 47 and 49 trains to Buda, and it is a stone's throw from Andrássy Avenue. It is one of the chief casualties in the war on enjoying yourself in the center of Budapest without being vomited on by tourists. Its signature features the reflecting pool and the surrounding grass, which Wikipedia tells me is populated by young people until the midnight hours. This speck of neutral ground is disappearing fast. It is being cordoned off and divided up to better milk the inebriated attentions of drug-addled bachelor parties. Diak is nicer than Bugatti for the same reason it is best enjoyed from its center. The cops have adopted a policy of blanket toleration toward the crowds drinking in the heart of the square. For how much longer, who can say? It earns its spot on this list due to its special standing in the hearts of foreigners and students, many of whom spent their initial summers in Budapest hanging out against the backdrop of Budapest Eye, the Ferris wheel, and Erzsébet. And plus, there's a shrine in the back where people go to dress up like Michael Jackson and selectively remember his legacy. Number 3, an intersection in Buda somewhere, probably. In parentheses, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Street, probably near the river. This is the obligatory Buda entry on this list, where I pretend to know what's going on west of the Danube. It's also the start of the hip, relatively unknown locations, representing a notable departure from the big name street corners that would populate this essay if they were sourced from expatriate Facebook groups. This is the kind of street corner that makes you turn to your partner at Sunday brunch and say, "Hey, honey, we have to check out this intersection in Buda everybody's talking about. This small place sounds fantastic." The location of this corner will inevitably be in the north part of Lágymányos, possibly Christina Város, behind the castle, or between Margaret Bridge and Betting Square. Let's go with that. Okay. Also, the street corner outside Bemosi, Turk Street, Margaret Street, Mechet Street, and Margaret Avenue. Okay. So this is a real entry, and this is a place I feel passionate about, called Bemosi. You can get a bottle from the pub attached to Bem, the second-run movie theater, and take it onto the patio, where the tables are always full. Once perched in the window of a neighboring business, you are free to converse over the screech of trains as they take the hairpin turn at the base of Rose Hill. It's the best movie theater in the city, so there's an outside chance you'll head there today. Number 2, Klázal Square's westernmost corner, which is the intersection of Dog, Klázal, and Kisdiófa. The second best intersection in Budapest in which to suck the neck of a Kobány bottle and watch the world turn is at the corner of Dog and Kisdiófa. If you're an aficionado of places to crouch like an animal, this is probably the entry you've been waiting for. The prime real estate here is stage left of Kishiza, a Budapest institution perpetually on the brink of being too hip for its own good. And from under an inscrutable turned-off neon sign, you can watch a finely balanced milieu of tourists, Hungarians, and career foreigners stagger through your world into the night. To the east lies expansive ancient Forgas complexum. To the south, Simplicer, north, Kirai, the boulevard, west, Gajdu, Monarch Square, Diak. Beer can be purchased in Kishizen or in any of the ABCs on Kirai, or for the discerning street drinker from Jijbar, just down the street on Kisdiófa. It's such a choice spot that it's where the bartenders go to sneak drinks and smoke cigarettes, just out of customer service range. Sometimes there's a lawn chair. I've heard the cops won't bug you unless you hang the effigy of the Prime Minister from the lamppost across the street. And if you stake your claim early, it's likely you will remain right where you planted yourself until you run out of beer or your ass goes completely numb. Number 1, the lampposts on the chain bridge's Pest side. Antal Yosef Jr. Embankment and Széchenyi Chain Bridge. The best place to crouch and drink a beer in Budapest is against the lampposts that decorate the alcoves on the Pest side of the chain bridge. They rise out of the ramparts, square maroons, to a height of about 4 meters, making it easy to clamber up and take a seat. From there, the river and Budapest's most famous bridge lies at your back. Széchenyi Square, its greenery and neoclassical statues are stretched before you, the dome of St. Stephen's Basilica rising in the distance, and on either side, 2 stories below the transom, are outdoor bars, now gone, one of which plays great music. Let it wash over you as you take in the gold filigree on the Grecian Palace, the profile relief of Sir Thomas crowning its decadent archers and masquerade busts. Recumbent stone lions flank the stream of tourists that pass below on their way to Buda Castle, oblivious to your presence only a few feet overhead. If you stay there while the sun sets, you can watch the lights turn on along Bend Embankment, a string of pearls decorating the green-black hem of the Danube's evening gown. From there, the city, its busy streets, its intersections of class and history, and arts, technology, and commerce, make a kind of intuitive sense, or at least they give you the impression of you being somehow on top of them. You may find that you too make a kind of sense, gripping wrought iron lampposts in one hand and the neck of an old-fashioned bottle in the other. Yeah, and there's some honorable mentions, but that's the key takeaway.
So we're all going out to some corners to go drink. Our next writer is Matt. Just on a personal note, I was introduced to the English writing literary scene here in Budapest by Matt through his Budapest Writers Lab, where a lot of us who worked on this project first met. And so where Masha is our mastermind, I would say Matt is our godfather, and a thank you to you too for this, because we wouldn't be here possibly without you either. So Matt Henderson Ellis is the author of Keeping Bedlam at Bay in the Prague Cafe, a novel booklets called Immersive, Nostalgic, and Thoroughly Enjoyable. And I've read it, and it is immersive, nostalgic, and thoroughly enjoyable. His translations from Hungarian have appeared in Agni, The Brooklyn Rail, and many other literary reviews. He currently edits crime fiction and memoirs and hosts Budapest Writers Lab, where the core team of this book have met.
The number one rule of writing we read is do not follow a guy who can wax poetic about Lahalu's and there's just, you can't top that. I'm going to try, but you'll get rid of it. So first off, I just want to really thank Masha and the team here, because while like most English language writing, I guess you could say the centers are in New York and London, most of that writing does not occur in those places, and initiatives like this are necessary and they're important, and they sort of rely on, I guess you would call it everyday small heroics of the people who run them. So thank you, Masha, thank you, Rachel, and thank everyone. Thank you, Stephen Brown. So there's a number of people here. I just want to make sure you're familiar with the core concept of this essay. And if I say Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake, wardrobe malfunction, you guys generally know what I'm talking about? It's not a weird writing prompt. I will somehow come back to that. So this is about a literary review that I founded and published for some years in Budapest. English language literary review that I ran out of my apartment called Pillbox. You can still see some of them at Masha. It's run its course, but I think I published a few people in this room, and Masha asked me to write a little piece about it. So I did. My most vivid memory upon arriving in Budapest as a tourist is looking out from the pavement on Kertész Street and feeling the decrepit facades of the buildings align with something in my psychology. Lace curtains waving open, coffin-sized windows, the sense that there was beauty within if you knew how to find it. The thought of living in such a building, in such a city filled with these buildings, provoked a transgressive feeling, animated with the erotic tinge of the unknown. With its unexploded bombs of wars past routinely unearthed, squares and parks that changed names as the influence of past occupiers waned, and the impenetrable language that fluttered in the ear, then disappeared instantly from memory, Budapest was a city that lent itself to the waking